Yes, you lot, welcome back to the Louis Talks Footy channel. Today I'm back with another video, but before I get straight into it, please make sure you've liked, commented and subscribed. It massively helps me out. Every time I see a new subscriber, it just puts a smile on my face, so please do that now. Right, on to Sunday's game against Liverpool. This is away at Anfield, and our record at Anfield is not great. I've just checked the statistics, or the head-to-head, and I've seen that the last time we won at Anfield was in 2021, where we beat them 4-1, so that's, 5 years ago. It's a long time. Listen, City, we're going to try and get a result here. If the last time we won here was 2021, which is 5 years ago, I'm not very confident in the form we're currently in. You know, I can't really trust City to put 3 wins together at the moment. I really can't, you know. It's difficult to get up for these lads and get excited for games, especially one at Anfield. You know, it's very difficult for me to look at that and think, yeah, we're going to go and flip and win, or we're going to go and even get a draw at this rate. You know, it's looked bad for City recently. That Spurs draw is still fresh in my mind, and it's still sore. It's still, you know, leaving its impact on me. Pause. It's going to be a difficult one. There's no ifs or buts. There's no going about it. It's going to be a hard game. Both teams are suffering with some injuries. So Liverpool have got Connor Bradley out. They've got Joe Gomez out. They've got Jeremy Frimpong out. And they've also got Alexander Isak out with a broken leg. Man City have got John Stones injured. Josko Gvardiol's also injured. Bernardo Silva, Mateo Kovacic, Jeremy Doku and Savinho. But the big guy who is back for this game, or should be fit for this game, is Ruben Diaz. Now, I'm not sure if he's going to start. I probably would have thought he's not going to start. I probably would have thought that he's going to get benched and maybe come on in the second half. I think it'd be a bit of a rude awakening to start him straight away against Liverpool. I think that'd be quite mad. But to be honest, the big person that I am questioning or thinking about in this game as to whether he starts or not would be Erling Haaland. At face value, what I've just said is quite crazy. Why would you not start Erling Haaland in the biggest game of the season, arguably? On his recent form, I think he scored, 1 goal or something like that in his last 8 or something, some crazy stat like that, you know. And it's not that bad, but for Erling Haaland standards, that is bad. And when you look at the person who could potentially come in to replace him or take his spot, Omar Marmoush, he's on fine form for Manchester City. Obviously scored 2 goals again last night. He brings an energy that Manchester City don't have when Erling Haaland's on the pitch, in my opinion. And I feel like when Omar Marmoush is playing, it levels up the whole front three in terms of the way we press and the way we attack. You know, last night I saw Phil Foden getting up there and pressing. I saw Semenyo getting up there and pressing. And I saw obviously Omar Marmoush all over the place, running the defence ragged. You know, Haaland is a big problem for defenders. Let's not say that he's not like... By the way, I'm not disrespecting Haaland here, or I'm trying not to disrespect Haaland here, because I know this guy is the most gifted goal scorer I've ever seen in my life. Like, I know how special Erling Haaland is, but I'm just saying, in the form he's currently in, why would we not give Omar Marmoush a chance, especially when he is on form and Haaland is out of form? Let me know in the comments what you lot think about that, because I said it on We Are the South Stand and got a little bit of backlash from some of the lads on the panel, and you know, I've said it to some lads at the game yesterday as well, and they were a bit unsure about it, because everyone thinks, you know, start Erling Haaland in a big game. But I'm interested to hear what you lot's opinion is about that, because I wouldn't start him. I'd go with Marmoush. I'd go with the setup that won us the game against Wolves and won us the game against Newcastle yesterday. That's what I'd do, personally. To be fair, Haaland came on last night and he did do alright. I feel like the substitutions that were made with Cherki, Haaland and Rodri did stabilise things a little bit. You can't really argue with that at all, can you? But purely from a goal scoring perspective, and I look at Omar Marmoush and the energy he brings to the side and the goals he's been bringing recently, I just don't see why you wouldn't start him. You know, we brought him in for like 60 million off from Frankfurt, and he's not just going to sit on Manchester City's bench. He's a top quality player. The argument I put forward yesterday on South Stand was, if we've got Omar Marmoush to be the second or the backup to Erling Haaland, and we're not going to play him when Erling Haaland's out of form, we're only going to play Omar Marmoush if Erling Haaland gets injured, then why is he on the bench? Why have we got such a good striker on the bench if we're not going to play him when he's out of form? Sorry, when Erling Haaland's out of form and Omar Marmoush is on form. It's a difficult one for me. It's a difficult one. On the topics of lineups and who to start, here is my predicted lineup. We're going to go with Donnarumma in net. We're going to go with Ryan Aït-Nouri at left back. I feel like this guy's a little bit suspect defensively, but I think he needs to just to get a string of games together to adapt to the system and, you know, adapt to playing regular Premier League minutes again if we're going to get this guy to be our number one left back. Next to him, I'm going to go with Mark Guehi and Krushnov. You know, I think these two have been solid, especially Krushnov. I think he's been so good since he's come in for City, and when he's been called upon, I think he's delivered. So Krushnov gets straight in there. And Mark Guehi obviously had a bit of a, you know, in fact, it shouldn't have been a flipping own goal. That goal should have been ruled out against Spurs, that Mark Guehi own goal. It was a foul, but I'm not going to complain too much about that because I don't think we deserve the win anyway. Right back, Mateus Nunes. In the DM, I'm going with Rodri. O'Reilly gets into the midfield for me as well. You know, if Bernardo Silva's fit, I don't know if he is. I don't think he is fit. Then Bernardo Silva plays for me, and that might be ahead of the other guy that I've got on the right-hand side of the midfield, which is Tijani Reinders. So the midfield three for me is O'Reilly, Reinders, and Rodri. And then the front three for me is going to be looking like Antoine Semenyo on the left, Marmoush in the 9, but more of a free role where he can go about the front three. Obviously, he drifts off to the left. Sometimes maybe Semenyo can come into the middle, or they kind of play as more of a narrow, almost front two. And then Ryan Cherky on the right, and obviously he can be given a free role as well. That's a solid lineup, and there's enough quality in there for me for us to go and beat Liverpool. Right, on to both teams' form. Liverpool are looking decent, but to be honest, this is a bit misleading because in the Premier League, this is one of the worst title defences I've ever seen in history. It's been bad. Liverpool have not really put up much of a fight at all, especially considering they invested 500 million into an already Premier League winning team. The way they've fallen off is quite bad, in my opinion. They beat Newcastle 4-1 at home last week. They beat Karabakh 6-0 in the Champions League. They lost 3-2 to Bournemouth. That was a bad defeat. They beat Marseille 3-0, and they drew 1-0 to Burnley. So there's some dodgy results in there. The Bournemouth defeat was obviously quite a bad one, and obviously drawing to Burnley, it's not great for them. But to be honest, it isn't much better for Manchester City. Obviously, we beat Newcastle 3-1 last night. I've touched on that. It was good. Spurs, that was a shocking, and like I say, I'm still sore about that one. I can't get over it. We beat Galatasaray 2-0, it was a decent result, and we also beat Wolves 2-0, but prior to that, we got beat 3-1 by Bodo Glimt, and that was shocking. And obviously prior to that, we lost the Manchester derby, which was arguably even worse than the Bodo one. So listen, it's not great for Manchester City and it's not great for Liverpool. Both teams are out of form. Both teams aren't where they'd want to be this year. If we beat Liverpool, like I said, I think that's a statement win, and I think Arsenal will be looking at that and thinking, well, these lot have gone to Anfield and beaten Liverpool. Maybe they are serious. Because right now we don't look serious. But Arsenal take on Sunderland at home. They should win that. I don't think Sunderland are in amazing form like they were at the beginning of the campaign. Arsenal should dispatch these lot fairly easily. You know, maybe Arsenal are going to drop points against Sunderland. Like, we know Sunderland are a physical, intense side. Maybe they can put Arsenal under some pressure. So, score predictions for the City versus Liverpool game. This is optimistic. I'm going to go 1-1. I feel like it's going to be very difficult. I've already mentioned about our form at Anfield is not great. We typically struggle against Liverpool anyway. It's going to be tough for Manchester City, like I said, especially at Anfield. So I'm going to go with 1-1. Like I said, I think it's an optimistic prediction, even predicting a draw 1-1 at Anfield. I think that's quite optimistic. So listen, get your predictions in the comment section down below. Please like, comment, share and subscribe. It massively helps me out. And let me know what you think about the Erling Haaland situation. Get that in the comments as well, because I don't think he should start personally. Maybe I'm wrong on that. So let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll see you lot in a bit.